For their statement. And I now give the floor to the representative of the Syrian Arab Republic.
Thank you, Mr. President. I address you on behalf of Dr. Fayssal Mikdad, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates in the Syrian Arab Republic. I would like to convey to you his congratulations on your presidency of the Security Council during this month. We have full trust in its important role to uphold the principles of international law and the UN Charter. Mr. President, as this Israeli genocidal war continues against Gaza for almost 10 months, and in light of this destruction and the unaccounted for number of massacres committed by the occupation that led to the martyrdom of more than 40,000 Palestinian civilians and the injury of more than 100,000 others, most of them women and children. And as the region has reached the brink, as was described by the UN Secretary General, due to the deliberate escalation of the Israeli entity with the barbaric crimes committed and the repeated aggression against my country, Syria, and Lebanon, we have to beg the question, what would push the Security Council to take further steps more than this collective genocide and atrocities committed by Israel against the Palestinian people? Why did the collective security system provided for by the UN Charter fail to compel the occupation authority to immediately halt their aggressive policies and daily massacres? Why did the Western countries remain silent before the war crimes and crimes against humanity committed by Israel before the eyes of the entire world, when those same countries took the initiative in different contexts to adopt one resolution following the other and holding one meeting following the other and establishing unjustifiable mechanisms under unfounded claims and pretexts? The crimes of the Israeli entity did not start on the 7th of October of 2023 because they are ingrained in its nature of aggression, racism, and settlement expansion aspirations. It is just a continuation of a long series of massacres, aggressions, and terrorism filling the UN records and the memories of our people. These have been committed by the Israeli occupation over decades to ingrain its presence on the occupied Arab territories, to kill and displace its people, and to build further settlements to undermine any chance for Palestinian statehood. This was crystal clear once again when the occupation authority approved a few days ago the building of 5,300 new settlement units in the West Bank. And to pave the way, they have confiscated Palestinian territories, the largest for over 30 years. Syria underlines its condemnation of the Israeli crimes. We call for an end to such crimes. They must be held accountable. We reiterate our full support of the Palestinian people in their struggle to put an end to this occupation and to enjoy their rights, including the inalienable right for an independent state with Jerusalem as its capital and to have full membership in the UN. We reject any attempt at prejudicing against the UNRWA and its important role that provides support to the Palestinians, whether in their motherland or in the host countries, including Syria, my country. Mr. President, the Israeli occupation entity would not have had the audacity to commit all these blatant violations of international law, of international humanitarian law and the international human rights law without the direct involvement of the United States in this aggression, as well as the unlimited political, military, financial, and media support provided by the American administration and a number of the Israeli allies. The United States prevented the Security Council from shouldering its responsibility to maintain regional peace and security. They opened their weapons depots and used their veto right 5 times within a few months to empower the Israeli entity entity to continue committing its crimes. Not only that, the American administration granted itself, without any right, the authority to decide which resolutions are binding or non-binding in the Security Council, along with their own whims and interests. This was crystal clear when they swiftly denied the binding nature of Resolution 2728 for a ceasefire a few hours after it was adopted, while Resolution 2735, which was tabled by the American administration in the Security Council, was nothing but illusion. It was not aimed at protecting the Palestinian people or implementing the principle of responsibility to protect, which was used to raid certain countries and destabilize it and loot its treasures. It was only to guarantee domestic election victories and to gain more time that would enable Israel to kill more Palestinians and liquidate the Palestinian question. The Israeli aggression against Gaza uncovered all the slogans and pretexts used by certain Western countries to interfere in the internal affairs of other countries. It has uncovered their lies and their hypocrisy, their lack of human values, their blatant bias at the expense of international law and the UN Charter. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, the war criminals of the Israeli entity were not satiated by the blood of tens of thousands of Palestinian martyrs in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. They instead entrenched their repeated aggression against the Syrian territories, the last of which was the flagrant aerial attack targeting the inhabited building in Damascus and its surrounding in the early morning of Sunday, the 14th of July. It was preceded by another attack in the surroundings of the city of Banyas in Syria. Such aggressive acts portend the spread of war in the entire region and the world if Israel was not contained and held accountable for its crimes. Syria warned from the repercussions of these continued aggressions. Time and again, we called on the UN and the Security Council to shoulder their responsibilities, to put an end to such aggression and to hold Israel accountable for such crimes. However, the U.S. administration prevented the Council from taking any concrete role and provided immunity to Israel and its criminals, which is a violation of its commitments as a permanent member of the Security Council. We stress once again on our legitimate right to defend our sovereignty, security, and stability, and to free our occupied land with all means available pursuant to international law. We call for an end to the Israeli aggression against Lebanon and the safe cities in the south of Lebanon. Those Israeli aggressions led to the martyrdom of a number of civilians. It led to the destruction of municipalities, the displacement of the people, and the destruction of the agricultural land because Israel used the white phosphorus, which is banned internationally. Last month, Syrians, including our people in the occupied Syrian Golan, have celebrated the 50th anniversary of raising the Syrian flag on the city of Konaitra after it was liberated from the Israeli occupation. On this occasion, we reiterate our strong determination to raise our flag on all our national territories after we liberated from occupation and terrorism. We stress that the occupied Golan was and remains Arab and Syrian. It is part and parcel of our territories. The United Nations and the Security Council must end this state of silence and paralysis. They have to compel Israel to stop all its attempts to alter the cultural identity of this region, as well as its demographic nature, institutional and legal status, since the occupied Syrian Golan is occupied and part and parcel of the land of the Arab Syrian Republic. We also call for the implementation of Security Council resolutions and resolutions of international legitimacy, foremost Resolution 242, 338, and 497, to be implemented so that we can put an end to the Israeli occupation of the occupied Arab territories. To conclude, Syria stresses the vital role of the ONDOF and ONSO. There must be no prejudice against them, and they should not be deviated from their primary mandate, which only necessitates to put an end to the Israeli occupation of the Arab land. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of the Syrian Arab Republic for